None of these guys that claim they're producers knows how to organize a track. I can go on BeatStars and I might literally find 10 producers that know how to structure a track. What the hell is going on now, man? And then all of these new guys, y'all all using loops.
So beat makers have ruined R&B and probably music in general, because beat makers are not real producers. They don't know how to sequence records. They don't know how to actually vocal produce, nothing like that. Now, normally I would deliver a fiery rant about how this is all bullshit, but don't crucify me, producers. He has a couple good points. A lot of terrible points that I'm going to disagree with, but he has a couple good points. We're at a really weird time in music production where I personally think we've been spoiled for far too long, and we've been antisocial as producers for far too long. And all of that antisocial and hyper-individualistic mentality and culture has seeped into all aspects of the music business now, to the point where we can't produce. Artists don't know what it means to be produced. Collaboration has really taken on a new meaning. And as a result, music may be suffering. We got to admit that, and we have to take responsibility for that. Let me explain what I'm talking about. I don't like making generalizations, and I think it's a much more complicated situation than what he's making it out to be. We can't just blame producers, and we producers can't just deflect blame and say, oh, well, it's the rapper's fault, or it's the label's fault, or it's the gatekeepers, whatever excuses we have. As always, I think we're going to have to confront some uncomfortable realities about ourselves and about each other and about the dynamics that we've built in the music producer artist community if we want to make real change, if we really love music enough to make these changes. It's not going to be easy. Let me know what you think. What do you think it's going to take?
Look, y'all tell me if I'm tripping, right? Nowadays, we only have beat makers. We don't have producers no more. None of these guys that claim they're producers knows how to organize a track. I can go on BeatStars and I might literally find 10 producers out of, I don't know where they got 100,000, a million. Who the hell knows how many people are on there? Out of that large ass number, whatever it is, I might be able to find 10 producers that know how to structure a track with an intro, with a hook, with a verse, with a hook, with a freaking outro, like, another verse, whatever. You know what I'm saying? With real structure, where you can listen to a track and tell that the part with the most instruments is the hook. What the hell is going on now, man? And then all of these new guys, y'all all using loops. Like, Gen Z, get it together, bro. Like, none of y'all creating anything from scratch. Like, millennials and before, we had to make that shit from scratch. And if we sampled, it was an actual sample, not a loop. Like, man, you better make that melody your damn self. What's going on, yo?
I feel like that kind of fell off the rails at the end, but what are your opinions?
I mean, this goes back to the producer beat maker thing. Like, I think the older cats need to understand that, like, terms morph over the years. Like, I understand how they're drawing the difference between a producer and a beat maker. But to me, like, producer, the word producer has done something similar as the word freestyle. Right. And I know a lot of old heads will be like, well, it's not a freestyle unless you're coming off the dome, blah, blah, blah. It's like, we can't have a productive conversation if we're not on the same page in terms of, like, the words we're using. Right. So I think the older cats just need to get over the producer beat maker distinction and just start teaching the elements of the producer that have been lost in the transition of the word, right? Like, let's not argue about the word. Let's teach what has been lost, right? Like that's my thing. Because now the industry has used producer so much, has equated producer and beat maker so much. That's what it is, in my opinion. Like, that's what it is. Like,
yeah.
So let's just start teaching the stuff that was lost, and let's not waste any time arguing producer versus beat maker, because I think there are some valid points. We do need some more people in the middle that reclaim the elements of the producer that have been lost.
And I have some opinions on why that is. I think there's another distinction that he's creating that also doesn't need to be created. It's not producer versus beat maker, but now it's musician versus loop maker. And it's like, all right, man, people use loops, but loops don't fall from the sky. a lot of producers are making those loops. And traditionally, producers hired session players to do that. Now they're using loops. So the people that can play keys are still a part of the equation. They just might have a loop hack out. So what's the issue with that? I guess I don't know what the problem with that is. And legendary producers used to use loops all the time. Get Your Freak On by Timbaland and Missy. That was a loop.
But again, that goes to my point. Like, isn't if beat makers are placing loops, they know where to place the loop in their song, which is the same thing a producer used to do back in the day in terms of like just kind of move the stuff in the right place. Like,
yeah, just understand sequencing and I mean, to his point, there are a ton of probably way more producers nowadays that don't know how to structure a track than there were back then. But that's also because the barriers to entry are all but gone.
Right.
Anyway, my cat can make a beat today.
But does the top of the top not know that? Right? Does Hit Boy not? Does Hit Boy not know how to do that?
Exactly. Yeah. And the greats are still great and they still understand. And there's a lot more space in the middle. The reality is we're all spoiled with the internet, with, quote unquote post-pandemic music industry. We're all spoiled. We can all do it ourselves, by ourselves. We don't need each other in the room. And we've talked about this in the past. Artist development is pretty much dead as well. So what ended up happening was, now that labels are looking more at data than an artist's potential, they don't have to invest in artist development. Right. Kind of good, kind of bad. But the new generation of artists that were raised on that industry never got to see developed artists. So they don't even have a concept of what artist development is for the most part, unfortunately. Right. And so what that means is artists are looking at their journeys on a creative level as individual. Producers too, because everything's a home studio. Producers are making beats on an airplane, on a bus, in a dark corner of their basement. It's super antisocial now. So the generation of producers that were raised on the previous generation, when things became individualistic, are now hyper individualistic. So everybody feels like the best way to make, or the way to make music, because that's what they're seeing their favorite musicians doing, is to go on the internet, get the right beat, record a song by themselves, and then put the song out, because a label will, that's how a lot of current hit songs are being made. It's hyper individualistic. And the problem is our brains have changed. The way we approach creativity has changed. Even how we collaborate has changed, because now we just fly WAV files over through Dropbox. It's not meet me here or meet me there. Like when I listen to the old Teddy Riley conversations about Michael Jackson, they're flying here, there, all the Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis stories. When they're getting fired from Prince, they're traveling across the country and going to this studio and that studio, and they're locked in with the artist. The Teddy Riley, Whitney Houston story is crazy. So it's so different. We don't create music like that anymore. And so as a result, I get the guy's frustration, but damn, man, you're going to get in front of the camera while you're driving, which looks unsafe, and blame producers for that, and blame us for using loops sometimes. Yeah, we got bigger problems.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I feel like, because it's very difficult to stand out these days, if you do understand the importance of artist development, that will show as you develop as an artist, and you'll be able to stand out easier than other artists. So if you do value artist development, you understand how important that is, and you know how to build that structure or find the resources yourself. Ultimately, that will put you ahead of the game. I remember seeing a video not too long ago of Chris Patrick, dope artist, young cat. I'm sure he's been at it for a minute, but in terms of the hip hop world, he's relatively new. I saw him preparing for a tour, and he was like running on a treadmill trying to get his vocals right. A lot of artists will do that. They'll run and perform their set on a treadmill or outside, and just little things like that to just get better at performing, better at projecting your voice. Mic placement. Little things can go a long way, and people will be able to see in your show, like, oh, this person has rehearsed. Oh, this person knows how to perform, versus someone that doesn't do some of those things to get ready for their shows, or how they record or how they dress. Like, if you're mindful of these things, you can separate yourself. It will show. It will show in your presentation, in everything that you do. It'll show in your interviews. It'll show in your music videos, in your performances. So that is a way to differentiate yourself these days.
Yeah, but you have to know that even exists. And so I think if you're only listening to newer artists and only studying the journeys of newer artists, you're not getting a complete picture. You're not understanding what artist development even is. And this applies to producers too. Producers need to, and I've said this before, producers need to know what it means to produce an artist in order to produce an artist, and artists need to actually create space for that. Because as it is, a lot of producers are like, man, this artist, you see it all the time on social media. Man, this artist sent me this email talking about they want me to reformat the beat. What's their problem? Like, shut the fuck up and reformat the beat. But then you'll have a lot of situations where an artist is like, man, and then there's producers in the studio talking about saying it differently. Fuck are you telling me what to do for? Because that's what a producer is. So it's frustrating to see producers complain about artists not wanting to take their input, but you don't know how to give input. And it's really frustrating as a producer to see videos like this all the time where people are talking about producers don't know how to produce anymore. They just make beats. Well, let us produce. You don't want us to produce. You don't even invite us to the studio. And when we do go in the studio, you expect us to shut up or look at us crazy when we suggest something. How are we going to learn? How are we going to learn to develop one another and perform our roles as best as we can if we don't give each other and ourselves the space to do that?
Yeah. The last thing I will say, I feel like labels don't even really exist like that anymore. But even smaller labels, that would be something to look for, because I feel like the infrastructure that we have with Funk Volume, we were definitely developing artists because we were always on the road. Like, we did a lot of shows. So if we signed somebody like Dizzy, for example, Dizzy was a pretty polished performer just out the gate because he had done a lot of shows. But when we signed him, he immediately comes on the road with us and opens up. He just gets those reps in. He sees what Hobson's doing. They're talking to each other on how to better their performance, how to pace their performance, things like that. Like, there were just kind of things.
But Dizzy was open to that. He didn't have the ego where he's not like,
initially, at least. Yeah.
But that was good though, because it's not like he forgot that.
Right. No, it's again, if you're signing to a label, is there an artist development piece? Is there an opportunity to learn from other artists, or are there other resources internally that where you can just grow as a professional and as a performer? That stuff is important. It's hard to point to that's exactly why you did that many streams, or your show did. You just have to believe that artist development will pay off, right? There'll be a return on investment. I can't calculate exactly what that is, but you'll have to just know there'll be a return on investment if you believe and execute some type of artist development
and producer mentorship too. I think we talked about Roger being mentored by Stat Quo and Dre last week. So that kind of thing. I mean, and then the guy turns around and produces the biggest hits ever. So yeah, it's important. People have to be receptive to it and have to see the need for it. And then also these mentors have to see something in you. You know, no one unfortunately wants to just dig through every rock to find the one they want to polish. They want to see some potential first. So it's a much more complicated conversation, but the first step is awareness. Just being aware that artist development exists, that development period exists, and that we may need it.